today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this, our last look at the Shannon Ryan versus Farah El Bousairi fight, set to go down tomorrow afternoon on the undercard of Fisher versus Allen 2, what will be Shannon Ryan's second fight since dropping that decision to Emma Doolin. She's coming off a win, she's back in the winner's bracket. I anticipate tomorrow she will stay in that bracket against veteran journeywoman Farah El Bousairi, who has more fights than Shannon, though not more talent, sporting a professional record of 8 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 1 knockout, having never been knocked out in 9 professional bouts. Some have questioned whether or not Matchroom is still interested in promoting women fighters as a result of Ellie Scottney leaving them, Alicia Baumgartner leaving them. They just signed 2 unbeaten fighters in Elif Ternan and Tia Ayton. Rhiannon Dixon is still there. Shannon Ryan is still there. Beatrice Ferreira also. And some others. It's easy to make presuppositions when you're not really paying attention that Matchroom still has Valkyries in their stable, and they are still adding to that stable. And this contest is scheduled for 8 rounds in the women's super flyweight division, super flyweight. That is where Irma Garcia holds the IBF, Ashley Gonzalez holds the WBC, Jasmine Artiga holds the WBA, and Japan's own Mizuki Hiruta holds the WBO. It just so happens that Mizuki will be fighting tomorrow also here stateside. These are the fighters, these are the champions that young Shannon Ryan must eventually go through to see herself crowned a world champion herself. Though I don't get the sense that she's on the eve of that, not with just 9 professional fights, having already suffered a loss, and fighting Farah El Bousairi. I feel like we might see Shannon one more time before she challenges for an alphabet title and learning from her mistakes. Because Shannon Ryan is a very aggressive fighter and an explosive fighter to the point where she empties the tank before the contest is over. She has to learn to pace herself. A similar build to Alicia Baumgartner upstairs at 130 pounds. You see a lot of musculature on Shannon Ryan, and that many more muscles eat up that much more oxygen as a fight progresses, causing the fighter to tire. So she needs more rounds. She needs more experience, learning to pace herself so she can have something left at the finish. This is a controlled environment. I expect that she will win tomorrow against Farah. Farah has already lost to Kim Clavel, Alexis Kubitsky, Chloe Watson, and Melis Gangloff. She's that kind of fighter to where she can give your fighter some rounds, but she's just not talented enough to win it. So I expect Shannon to secure the W tomorrow, perhaps by way of a points decision. One thing you can give Farah is that in spite of her career blemishes, she's never been knocked out, she's never been stopped, and she has fought some talented fighters, but none of them have put her down and kept her down. So I don't expect that Shannon will knock her out, though I'd be impressed if she did. On the undercard of Johnny Fisher versus Dave Allen 2, turning our attention to that main event. Ahead of tomorrow's fight, veteran fighter Dave Allen is back to dreaming again of a British heavyweight title. Dave Allen is back to being ambitious again and hunting down a shot at the British title should he defeat Johnny Fisher this Saturday. The pair will square off at London's Copper Box Arena after a controversial first encounter out in Saudi, which saw Fisher win by split decision. Many doubted Allen coming into the contest after he quit on his stool against Fraser Clark a year earlier, and all his recent wins in recent years have come on the small hall scene. Allen himself admitted that he was nervous coming into the contest and he believed it would be his last bout. The 33-year-old Allen then went on to prove all the doubters wrong, and maybe even himself, by dropping Johnny Fisher in the 5th and seemingly doing enough to take the decision. Yeah, I remember that fight, and I remember thinking, Johnny Fisher just got exposed, and he just found his level, because it looks a lot like Dave won. Many in the arena and at home saw Allen as the clear winner, but 2 of the judges positioned ringside did not agree and awarded the fight to Fisher. Although Allen had suffered the 7th loss of his professional career, he saw his stock rise in defeat. That tends to happen when you put forward a good performance. The fighter who was once adored by British fight fans had won back their hearts with his performance, and now more big nights are on the horizon.
I've got dreams. I stopped dreaming for a while. I'm back dreaming again, Allen told Boxing Scene. I'd like to win the British title. I'd like to box in America. I would have liked to have got to fight in a football ground. But yeah, I'm back to dreaming again. And it's nice to do that. So yeah, one fight at a time, but I'm back ambitious again. And it's nice. I'm not delusional. I'm ambitious. Not delusional. You see what I mean? I don't want Alexander Usyk or Daniel Dubois. I want the British title. You've got to be ambitious, but realistic. So yeah, I want to get into the British title mix.
The current title holder of the British title is David Adilier, who recently won the title with a controversial knockout over Jamie TKV Shikova. The pair have been ordered to face each other in a rematch by the British Boxing Board of Control. Beat Johnny. I'm happy to box the winner of that, Allen said. The Huey Fury fight has been mentioned. He's with GBM Sports, who are now friends of mine. So everything's an option. 4-rounders are an option for me. Anything, I'll box wherever. I just want to keep involved. It keeps me young.
At 33 years old in a heavyweight division, that is young. 33 years old. That's not old for a heavyweight.
A win over Fisher puts Allen right back up there with the top UK domestic fighters, but where does a loss leave him? Battling in 4-rounders, he admitted. It is what it is. As long as I'm healthy, as long as I pass my scans, I can still box at a good level, I can be competitive at a level that is respectable, I'll continue on. Although Allen says he will fight on, win or lose, against Fisher, he is realistic that his time in the sport is limited. Allen now has a young family, and knowing he may not have many more big nights, he brought them down to a recent press conference in London.
The cockeyed optimist in me almost wants to root for Dave Allen in this situation because Johnny Fisher is young and he can afford a loss more than Dave can at this point. Dave's already got 7.
And by all rights, he should have won their initial meeting. I just said to my missus, it's brilliant. I want to bring the kids down, Allen said. I want to, because I'm not going to be doing this forever. Like I said, I want to continue on as long as I can. But you're looking like, what, 2 or 3 years, the max? So I just wanted to bring them down. They're not really old enough to take it all in, but I just want them to see what their old man does, get pictures that one day they'll look back and go, oh look, I was there watching my dad. It's a big thing, really. I'm headlining in London again. I'm a kid from a little shithole back home. Do you know what I mean? So it's important to me. Yeah.
This is a winnable fight for Dave Allen based on what we saw in their initial meeting, because not only did he show that granite chin that we've all come to know and love, he also showed more power, more single punching power than Johnny Fisher, who's bigger and younger,
though perhaps not stronger and not as battle-tested. People tend to forget that Dave Allen's been in there with almost everybody. For the short period that Luis Ortiz was with Matchroom Boxing,
he fought Dave Allen, and many a Brit will tell you that the White Rhino exposed Luis Ortiz. He did it before anybody, because Luis looked shit in that fight.
Supposed to be a world-class operator and a student of the Cuban school, was exposed by little old Dave Allen, and there's a feeling of untapped potential when it comes to the White Rhino, when it comes to Dave, that if he buckles down and takes things seriously, he can at least compete at domestic level. Though at the same time, you can't be too wide-eyed when it comes to Dave. You can't be a cockeyed optimist when it comes to a guy who quit on a stool not that long ago with Fraser Clark. That if the going gets tough for Dave, mentally, he might check out.
So you're saying you got Johnny Fisher?
I'm saying I don't trust either of these guys enough to make any bold presuppositions. Boys are all weighed in. Johnny came in about 4 pounds heavier than he did in their initial meeting. He came in at 241 the last time. He's at 245 now, which is really nothing to a heavyweight. 4 pounds, that's a trip to the bathroom.
Basically.
Dave is coming in 8 pounds heavier than he did in their initial meeting. Before, he came in at 257. Now he's going in there at 265. And I don't know if that is ineptitude or strategy. That could be a ploy to come in heavier so that he can land heavier on Johnny, now that he knows that he can hurt him. Or that could just be a lazy fighter. A guy who didn't work hard in camp to get himself match fit. You know, the heavyweights are not held to the same standard as the fighters at the lower weights because heavyweights don't have a ceiling. They don't have a cap on how heavy the heavyweight can be.
But there is such a thing as coming in too heavy when you look at Joe Joyce in action, Martin Bacoli in his last fight.
To where I don't know what to expect from Dave Allen and his heartwarming story about his family and how he's dreaming again. We've heard that kind of stuff from Dave before, though at the same time, you can't ignore what happened in the first fight. I very much think he exposed Johnny Fisher, and if he can put some punches together, he can take him out.
I was surprised to see how well he was handling the heavy shots from Johnny Fisher, who right before that destroyed Alen Babic in a round.
Remember him? Johnny Fisher made short work of him, and it was all sunshine and rainbows until he ran into a wall that goes by the name Dave Allen. That if you're the genuine article, and you're the kind of fighter that can go all the way, you shouldn't need a gift draw or a gift of any kind against Dave Allen.
And he got one. I heard that Johnny's father is now on the outs with Gareth A. Davies because Gareth, he thinks Dave should have won.
Would seem that Johnny's father's trying to blot out the sun with his index finger because Gareth A. Davies is not alone. A lot of people think that Dave should have won.
What do you think?
I think I'm going to sit this one out and just enjoy the show because I don't trust either of these guys enough to make any bold proclamations. Maybe Johnny didn't take Dave seriously the first time out because he already had 7 losses going in.
And maybe now he's going to right those wrongs and do to Dave Allen what he did to Alen Babic. Maybe. Or maybe Johnny has found his ceiling. He's little more than a domestic level fighter, and it took Dave Allen to expose that. Maybe it's that way. I don't know.
So I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show. And you should too.
Elsewhere in the heavyweight division, Eddie Hearn asks Tyson Fury, "Why are you doing this to us?"
As one of boxing's foremost salesmen, Eddie Hearn more than anyone knows the power of a promotional foreplay. He also knows how quickly a fight can go from being highly anticipated to irrelevant. If this promotional foreplay is exhausted, and fans get the sense there will be no payoff at the end of it all, this, in fact, is Hearn's greatest fear when it comes to a potential heavyweight fight between his man, Anthony Joshua, and Tyson Fury. Joshua's a longtime rival. Ideally, as far as Hearn is concerned, this fight should have happened a long time ago, back when both were unbeaten, or at least defined by more than just being outboxed by Alexander Usyk twice, on the Ukrainians' journey to becoming everything neither Joshua nor Fury were able to become. That is, the world's #1 heavyweight. That it never happened when it should have happened is as much Joshua's fault as it is Fury's.
No, it isn't. Before Turkey's entry into the sport, and the liaison in Saudi was Prince Khalid.
Skills challenge. Remember them? Remember that in between the second Wilder fight and what turned out to be the third Wilder fight, the fight between Anthony and Fury was made. The reason it didn't happen was because of Wilder's mediation arbitration, forcing Fury to go into a third fight with him, that if they didn't fight before, it's not Anthony's fault.
The fact that Fury recently announced his retirement from the sport should act as no deterrent. Fury, after all, has become a fighter known to announce his retirement whenever he is either bored or, ironically, gearing up to negotiate for a big fight, and Hearn, the man with whom Fury would have to negotiate,
he says there is no bigger fight than that fight. I feel like Tyson Fury's a bit of a tease, really, Hearn told Sky Sports. Even today, I come out of a press conference for a heavyweight fight between Fabio Wardley and Justice Hooney, and I went on Instagram and I see that he's there with his raps on, saying 12 rounds of boxing. Why are you doing this to us? What are you doing? Are you just deliberately playing with our minds? Or are you coming back? Just let us know. Either way, put us out of our misery.
Calm down, Eddie. He's coming back. I could have told you that. So long as there's money on the table for Tyson Fury, so long as there's lots of money to be made, he's not going anywhere.
Of course, given his experience in the sport, Hearn knows exactly what Fury is attempting to do by retiring, then unretiring. He knows his desire for attention is second only to his desire to make money. And he knows, therefore, that Fury cannot stay away from boxing for long. It is for this reason Hearn remains hopeful of making the one fight he really wants to make, and why Anthony Joshua, currently injured, is just as hopeful of finally meeting Fury later in the year. If not this one, next year.
Now, they think that Fury retires and unretires in pursuit of attention, where I've always thought the real reason Fury retires, then unretires, is because while he's retired, he's not subject to anti-doping testing, randomized anti-doping tests.
In tandem with bargaining power, because he can always say, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny to bring me out of retirement. AJ has got to have keyhole surgery on his elbow, and he'll be back post-September, confirmed Hearn. It's there, isn't it? Let's just make it happen. When we talk about big fights, this fight is the biggest fight, not just in British boxing, but in world boxing by a mile. I just feel like it's time. This is the moment. We are reliant upon Tyson Fury, and I just know in his mind he will want to dance with Anthony. So dust those shoes off and let's make it happen. Until they both summon the courage to get up and actually dance, expect many more months of Fury and Joshua continuing to make eyes at each other across the dance floor. One only hopes that they make their move before the music stops and everyone else in the room has gone home. I wouldn't put time constraints on Joshua versus Fury as a fight, because look at how long it took to get Amir Khan and Kell Brook in the ring. Ages. They were both past their best, far removed from their prime when they finally fought. Washed up. But it didn't matter to the British boxing public. They still showed up and showed out to see it.
And they would still show up and show out to see this, either this year or in the next one. This is still a hot ticket. This is still a big fight. Even if the Americans don't care, and it's not what it was to world boxing, it's still big enough to British boxing that it's huge.
Don't underestimate the buying power of the British boxing public that have easily made Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank one of the biggest fights of the year, and one of the most entertaining, in spite of it not being for a world title.
Doesn't always have to be. Underneath it all, AJ versus Fury as a rivalry was never really about the belts. It was always about one guy proving that he's better than the other, irrespective of what happened.
It was always about bragging rights, and it still is.